Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in Freshman English, and I'm with you now on page 623, Sonnet on Love 13 by Jean de Sponde. It's translated by David Slavitt. I want to hop over to 619 for just a second. Let's get our author information out of the way here. Notice your dates, 1557 to 1595. Whoa, so that puts this writer back a while. Okay, the French poet Jean de Sponde was a true Renaissance man, I'm reading with you on 619, who served in the court of King Henry IV, dabbled in chemistry, published scholarly editions in ancient Greek texts. Sonnet on Love 13 is part of his finest work, Sonnets of Love and Death. Let's turn now to the background information on 623. I want to say two things about this poem right away at 2B. Write this down. One, you have to know something about the form of writing called the sonnet. The easy thing to say about the sonnet is 14-line offering. So you know right away you're looking at 14 lines of a poem, okay? You're going to usually have some kind of understanding of rhyme scheme at the end. You're usually going to have some kind of understanding of rhythm. We'll take a look and see, but for sure a sonnet, 14 lines. Number two, read this background information with me. Archimedes, and then you got your dates, 287 possibly to 212 BC, has been called the founder of theoretical mechanics. A brilliant Greek mathematician and inventor who once boasted that given a place to stand in space and a long enough lever, he would move the earth itself. Give me a place to stand and I will move the earth, is his famous saying. Legend has it, when he made a great discovery, he jumped up and shouted, "Eureka!" which means, "I found it." Now this is a poem that I think is going to work on multiple levels for us. Let's read the poem together and then we'll analyze, okay? Here we go. "Give me a place to stand," Archimedes said, "and I can move the earth." Paradoxical, clever, his remark which first explained the use of the lever was an academic joke. But if that dead sage here meaning wise person, could return to life, he would find a clear demonstration of his idea, which is not pure theory after all. That putative spot exists in the love I feel for you, my dear. What could be more immovable or stronger? What becomes more and more secure the longer it is battered by inconstancy and the stress we find in our lives? Here is that fine fixed point from which to move a world that is out of joint, as he who could have done had he known a love like this. Now quickly at level 1, let's just point out that really what's being said here is simply, you jot down what you see as the major message here. What is he saying about love? Well, he's saying directly to Archimedes and of course anyone that would challenge the idea of love. What is he saying? A lever is not the most important instrument on the planet. Love is the most important instrument on a planet. Give me a place to stand and I'll move the world was what Archimedes said. And the point here is that it was kind of like a mechanical, scientific, technological joke when he said it. But there is something, our poet de Sponde will say, there is something that can move the world, and it is love. Now the way he gets there in the sonnet is really interesting. Notice he uses the word putative, supposed, known by reputation. That putative spot exists in the love I feel for you, my dear. So let's point out right away, this is a poem that is supposed to be, it's a love poem that is given from the writer to the one that he loves, my dear. What could be more immovable or stronger? Notice already at 3A, notice how we have rhetorical questions kind of like dream deferred. Remember, we're in Poetry Collection 1, and these poems are all kind of grouped together for reasons that we'll have to assess as we get to the final poems here, right? Here, he asks, what could be more immovable or stronger than love? What becomes more and more secure the longer it is battered by inconstancy and the stress we find in our lives? Let's go ahead and put it in our notes this way at level 2A. He says, love can only be defined as true love when there are the challenges of life, when there are the stresses of life. That's when you know that it is true love. We'll jump, by the way, to another sonnet that you'll study in your senior year at 3A, Shakespeare's famous sonnet, Sonnet 116, which basically says the same thing. When you're in the middle of real serious fighting and challenges, that's when you find out whether what you have is love or not. He says it grows stronger and more secure the longer that it goes through challenges. Here is that fine fixed point from which to move a world that is out of joint. The phrase out of joint, by the way, comes from Shakespeare's play Hamlet. The time is out of joint, Hamlet, or Shakespeare will say. And to that degree, in other words, when things don't fit, love is the thing that somehow puts all of your world back together, as he could have done had he known a love like this. There's a good argument here that as well Sponde is saying, that Archimedes was so into physics and mechanics because he didn't have love. If he had been in love, he wouldn't have spent so much time trying to figure out mathematical formula. He would have just enjoyed being in love. A final possible message at 2a, love is without question the most powerful force on the planet. Now at 2b, we've pointed out already, notice that this is a sonnet, right? And we have then our attempt at 14 lines for a poem, right? Notice this is the sonnet on love, and here notice we have a symbol, right? What is that symbol? Well, the lever that can move stuff physically, a symbolic lever that moves the world, is of course love. At 3a, what is for you the text that most best argues that love is the most important thing on the planet? What is your favorite song about love that basically says this? That without love, there's no point in living life if you don't have love. What is maybe the video game that you play that seems to argue the same idea? That love is the most powerful force on the planet. Finally, at 3b, this is an interesting question. It is one that you obviously as freshmen will begin to deal with more seriously. Is there a difference? Two-part question. Is there a difference for you between love and lust? Is there a difference between love and lust, or are they the same thing? Is it true that love starts out as lust and then becomes love? Is that true? And what distinctions do you make in regards to loving and liking? Is it true that love starts out as something physical and it becomes maybe something like a friendship, and ultimate love becomes this incredible friendship? Second question, do you think it's true that love gets stronger as the bad things happen? Now later we're going to study in our freshman year the penultimate supposed play by Shakespeare on love, Romeo and Juliet. And the question will be there, is it truly love if they met one night and 2 nights later they're dead because they've killed each other? It's the Pyramus Thisbe question from Greek mythology. Is there such a thing as love at first sight? Do you believe in that idea? And to what degree do you think love is important in your life? Well, there you go, an introduction to Jean Desponde's sonnet on love, number 13. Thank you.